Would anyone like a little race with their caution? Hi, and welcome to CBSSports.com's NASCAR Report. I'm Amber Wilson. Fans showed up to Indianapolis Motor Speedway Sunday to watch their favorite drivers fly around a track on 4 durable wheels in a spectacular showcase of speed and endurance in the All-State 400. What fans got at the Brickyard that afternoon, on the other hand, was anything but. They witnessed a sea of yellow flags with what felt like a few sporadic moments of racing in between. Jimmie Johnson survived the insanity and found victory lane, moving him up 1 spot in the standings to 4th. That bumped Carl Edwards back a spot. Denny Hamlin benefited, making his place in the chase 4 spots more comfortable. Matt Kenseth dove 3 spaces, while Clint Bowyer is back in the picture for now, bumping Kevin Harvick outside the field of 12. And while Kyle Busch finished 15th, he still holds the top spot by 253 points. So the chase must go on despite the bumps in the road, a road that apparently Goodyear's tires just could not handle Sunday as the rubber wore way under the weight of NASCAR's new car. The car's design puts more stress on the right side tires than the previous model, which some blame for the mishap. The rough Indy surface turned tire rubber to black dust, making the track slippery. That's when NASCAR took control for safety's sake, making this the second slowest race in 15 years at the Brickyard, upsetting fans and infuriating drivers, to say the least. NASCAR apologized for the fiasco Tuesday and spoke with Goodyear officials to try to resolve the issue for the future. Indy representatives were also in contact with both parties, but made it clear publicly that their track is not changing and that this was not their issue. To help us sort out the finger pointing, we welcome in our very own NASCAR expert, Pete Pistone, to the program. So, Pete, who is ultimately to blame then for what happened Sunday at the Brickyard?
Well, NASCAR came out and apologized this past week. They took most of the blame. Robin Pemberton, the vice president of competition, addressed the media on a teleconference on Tuesday and said there is no excuse for what happened, and NASCAR fully takes the blame. I think NASCAR has to take a lot of blame in this, Amber, but I really think that Goodyear is the one that fell down on the job. That is their job, to bring tires that these teams can race on safely and competitively, and they didn't do that. How they came into this race, the second biggest race of the year behind Daytona at the most famous track probably in the world, Indianapolis, is beyond me, and really how you could come into any track and any race as unprepared as they were is a mystery. So they're hopefully learning from this, and we'll move on, and we won't have this problem again either at the Brickyard next year or at any track on the NASCAR schedule.
I mentioned NASCAR and Goodyear officials spoke with one another on Tuesday. What can they do to prevent this from happening again, and not just next year at Indy, but at other tracks on the schedule as well?
Well, I think next year the open testing policy is going to help. This year, was the last of the few years where we've had 7 tests that NASCAR let the teams have. The crew chiefs actually voted on where to take the tests, and that's where the 7 tests wound up. Next year, they're going to let the teams kind of do whatever they want testing-wise. I think that'll help, but having an open test for all the teams at Indianapolis is a must, and Pemberton basically told us this past week that's what's going to happen. But again, Goodyear has to step up its game. It cannot come into any racetrack with a tire and a product as inferior as the one they did at Indianapolis. And I think it is really their job, and the onus is on them as the exclusive tire manufacturer to make sure that they step up their game and eliminate, and avoid any of the problems like what we saw this past week at the Brickyard.
Well, Jimmie Johnson was able to survive all the controversy to score his second career Brickyard win and second victory of the 2008 season. Is winning Indy something that will help him carry momentum into the chase and possibly a third title?
Well, even before he won the Brickyard 400, I think Jimmie Johnson was going to be a contender. He's been very quiet. We've talked about the first half of the season, how Hendrick Motorsports, after winning 18 of 36 races last year, was so quiet. This is only the 3rd win for Hendrick overall, the 2nd win for Jimmie Johnson. But yes, this is a race, the Brickyard 400, that we've seen guys use as a springboard to go into the chase and to win championships. I mean, it worked for Tony Stewart last year. He didn't win the championship, but it really helped him over the next couple of months going into the chase. And I think the same is going to happen for Johnson. The key is you don't want to peak too soon and go into the chase and then fall flat. I think Johnson, if he's going to try to win a 3rd straight championship, has to bring momentum into the chase, but he has to make sure he still has a lot of that momentum in the final 10 races of the year to win the title.
All right, Pete, I'm sure fans can't wait to move on from this one. A return to Pocono is next on Sunday. First, will we see any kind of tire problems there? And also, who looks to be the favorite in the Pennsylvania 500?
Well, I certainly don't anticipate any tire problems at Pocono. And again, it's kind of a good thing that the resource that was brought to Indianapolis, which was the Pocono tire, wasn't used. So we know we have plenty of tires, and we raced there in June, didn't have any tire issues. So I don't think that's an issue at all for this weekend. Can Casey Kane sweep? He can. He's going to be in the mix. He's really someone I think that has always run pretty well at Pocono. But, since he won at Pocono in June, he's been flat. So this might be a rebound for him. But I really think Denny Hamlin, the flat track specialist who swept Pocono back in 2006 and had a great run going at the Brickyard before that final pit stop when Jimmie Johnson's crew got him ahead and then ran down to the victory. Hamlin finished third, but I'm looking for Denny Hamlin, the flat track specialist, to be the guy to beat on Sunday when we go back up to the Pocono Mountains.
All right. Thanks as always, Pete. We will look forward to hearing from you this weekend from Pocono. And don't you forget to come back next week when we take a look at Watkins Glen. But for now, if you missed anything here today, stop, refresh, and rewatch. For Pete Pistone, I'm Amber Wilson.